Okay, so we got another short episode of Rags to Wags. Today, I'm going to teach you a very specific and tactical lesson in the art of negotiation. Okay, in my opinion, there's two real main keys in negotiation. There's books on this stuff, right? You could literally read like 10 chapters of the intricacies and the specifics of being a good negotiator. But I'm going to teach you two tactical lessons right now. The first is, in any major negotiation, it is always super important that when terms are being discussed, that you never be the first to speak. Now people are wondering, well, how do you negotiate if you're not the first to speak? Well, I'm specifically referencing when we're talking about numbers, or we're talking about terms, or we're talking about deadlines. Anytime there's a proposal made, you always want to be the last one to speak. So the way that I illustrate this best is, in a negotiation, the first one to speak loses. Now, let me break that down. I'm going to say it again. In a negotiation, the first one to speak always loses. Now, let me tell you why that's important to me. Here's a small example. Let's say you're selling a guitar online on Craigslist, okay? And you post your guitar for sale, and it's going to be $300. And the guy calls you, and you guys have all done this. You've got a text message from the guy on Craigslist, and he said, "Hey man, you got a guitar for sale?" And you're like, "Yep." The ad's still showing active. And then his next text is, "Cool. What's your lowest price?" And a lot of people, just don't know better. I thought this was kind of innate for a lot of people. I'm not trying to be condescending, but this is why I'm trying to teach it. A lot of people will immediately text them back what their lowest price is. Well, here's the deal. You posted an ad, you had an asking price, right? If somebody asks you what your lowest price is, what they're saying to you is, "Hey, I want you to negotiate against yourself." So you immediately do that. You say, "Hey, even though I was asking $500, this guy's asking me to negotiate against myself, and I'm really willing to take $400, so I'm just going to text him back $400. Now, let me put you on the other side of the negotiation, the guy on the other side of that text message. This is what he's thinking. Cool, this dude just texted me back that $400 was his lowest price. But in all reality, $400 is not his lowest price. $400 is my initial basis that I'm going to start my negotiations from now, right? It's called creating a basis. So the guy is already winning on the other side. He's the guy that's winning the negotiation because he was not the first one to speak when it comes to numbers. He asked you, "What's your lowest number?" And you said $400. So now he's created a basis at the high mark. That's his high mark basis of negotiation. Now he's going to come back to you and say, "Hey, some bullshit about and I only have this and and my mom's moving out, I got to pay her rent. All I got is $200, right?" So he's kind of like set his low basis at $200. You're not going to take $200, but through back and forth and blah 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 blah, ultimately he's going to come back to you and then he's going to say, "Hey, look, why don't we just split the baby? Let's just meet in the middle, and you're going to end up at $300 or close to it, right?" Well, that sucks for you because you lost the negotiation by speaking first. Never throw out a number first. When a guy says, "What's your lowest price?" you say, "What's the highest price you're willing to pay?" When somebody asks me, "Hey, what's the lowest you'll take?" I say, "Well, I listed my home for X amount, or the building's for sale for X amount. That's my asking price. Make me an offer." And they say, "Well, what's the lowest you're going to take?" "Oh, just make me an offer. I'll look at all reasonable offers." I don't want to ever come across like I'm not trying to get the deal done, because those sellers that act like they've got something for sale, but then they act like they don't care if they sell it, it just comes across as disingenuous, and then people see through that, right? So if you want to be a tactical negotiator, you have to show people that you do indeed want to sell something, you are motivated, or else you wouldn't have it for sale. And so, yes, I want to engage in a negotiation or whatever the case may be, but I'm not going to reset a basis that I've already set with an asking price. So as soon as that person comes, it really has to become literally like a standoff. Like, "Oh, okay, well, what's the lowest you're going to take?" "Well, what are you willing to offer?" Well, I don't know. They're going to be, and then they're going to rephrase it again. Well, would you take this? I don't know. Is that an offer? Like every single time you want to reset your basis and make sure that you confirm it and then start your negotiation from that point. Okay. So that is point number 1. Point number 2. When you get into the negotiation process, and I learned this point, this skill set and this strategy, I learned it from my little brother, Jaden. My little brother, Jaden, I say little brother, he's my younger brother 2 years, but the guy's like 6'6", 280, so he's not little. But he started a truck dealership company, auto import company about 3.5 years ago. They're on pace this year to do over $100 million in sales, ultra successful. He's crushing it. He's literally making more money in the industry than anybody I know, and super proud of him, and he's my best friend. And he taught me this strategy, and it's super applicable to every industry and every person in business when they're negotiating. But he learned it being in the car industry. And the second part of this was once you get into these negotiations and you start, let's use a car example, right? Because this is the example he used with me. You list your car for sale on a classifieds. Somebody comes in, they offer you $500 even though you listed it for $700, right? And you say, I'm not willing to take $500, and what's the best you're willing to do? And try to get them to throw out that number. Maybe they come up to 600. Well, maybe you were willing to take 550, and so their offer of 600 is really good. This is what Jaden taught me. If you're willing to take 550 and somebody offers you 600, you don't say, I accept, or okay, done deal, which for most people, like naturally would feel like the way to do it is like, hey, don't get greedy. Just say, yeah, man, done deal, let's do it, right? But this is what I learned from Jaden is that if I say, yeah, 600, I'll take it. What happens is that buyer walks away from the transaction wondering if he left money on the table. He wonders, shoot, did I offer too high? Could I have got it for less? Like, that's how he's going to be thinking, and it creates buyer's remorse. And any seller in any industry of any product of any sort does not want to create or instill buyer's remorse in their consumers. So the tactical solution to that is what Jaden calls the courtesy bump, okay? So remember this, the courtesy bump. So I'm willing to take 550, the guy offers me 600. I'm going to counter that guy back with a completely inconsequential amount of money to me. None. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't care if I get it. Call it $25, call it $50, call it $10, okay? And let me tell you what this does. So he offers 600, you're willing to take 550. Instead of accepting, I counter and I say, you know what? I'm willing to do $610. And it kind of puts the guy back on his heels a little, but he's like, $10 is insignificant to him, it's insignificant to you, but he doesn't know it's insignificant to you. Matter of fact, in his mind, he starts racing like, dude, that's like a really specific number, like $610. I must have nailed the number on the head. Like, I must have hit the exact low number that he's willing to do. So if he countered me back at $610, that guy's gonna accept every single time. But not only is he gonna accept the deal, and you get the transaction, now one, you made a little bit more money, insignificant, but more important than that, what you did was you instilled a degree of confidence in that buyer that he feels way better about the transaction. He doesn't think for a second that he left $1 on the table. He knows that he hit or at least he thinks he hit the number right on the head, so he got it for the very lowest price that you were willing to sell it for, and he feels great about the transaction. He feels like that he got all the value he could in that deal. And that together, that art of negotiation between the winner never speaks first and the courtesy bump will completely change your business in all negotiations. And so I want you guys to take those back, try them in your businesses, try them in your everyday lives. If you're, like my wife, a house mom, and you're selling something online, try it. See if it works. You'll be super surprised. You'll see the reaction in the buyer that they feel better about the transaction. You'll never see buyer remorse in any of your businesses with any of your consumers. And you guys can apply this to a lot of things in life, even negotiations with your kids. So glad to pass that on to you today, and hope you guys have a great day.